had the
What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be doing a review on Arrogant Bastard Ale from Stone Brewery.
Yes.
We have Eric from Massachusetts Beer Reviews to tell us a little bit about this beer.
All right. So I am in New England, in the southern part of Massachusetts, and everybody else is in California. So I'm the late one up at 9 o'clock right now. But I'll get into the beer because you want to know. Now they tell you if you go to the arrogantbastard.com. I just went to stonebeer.com, whatever it's called. But they tell you hop variety is classified. International bitterness units classified. It is 7.2% alcohol by volume, and this beer is considered an American strong ale according to Beer Advocate. They say it's an aggressive ale. It's not like your fizzy yellow lagers. It doesn't have $1 million campaign, but your taste buds are a better judge than somebody on a commercial. I mean, seriously, they tell you just about nothing about the beer other than it attempts to shackle Americans chained in shackles of poor taste. They tell you nothing. Just have an open mind, open the beer, try it, see what you think about it. It's what they really say. You know, I thought I was going to find more about the beer than I didn't here. So there you go.
That's very interesting.
So just like with all Stone beers, they have like a thesis paper on the back of their bottles. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're not worthy. 7.2%, if I didn't mention that.
Stone is what got me into craft brewing, really, ultimately.
Same here.
I saw an empty bottle of Ruination and read the back of that and was just reading the back of the bottle. I was like, I need to fucking drink some of this shit.
I am not drinking this whole thing tonight. No, 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 no.
Oh, what a pussy.
Hey, man. It's like a mustache. It's a flavor saver.
I gotta tell you, this beer really hits me compared to after us doing that evaluation with the Bud Select.
Keone and I did Budweiser Select 99 calorie version with the Louisiana Beer Reviews, and that was not even the same thing as this, and that's not really the point. They're just two different beers, but yeah, they're different, right? That's what you were saying.
Yeah, I just got slapped by flavor, you can say.
Right.
This has so much flavor compared to a lot of the domestic beers you find.
So, I don't know what you're all getting out of appearance-wise on some Arrogant Bastard Ale, but it's definitely... Well, I'll let Keone go. It's your channel,
dark
man.
brown. When I put it up into the light, I'm getting almost like a blood red color. A little lighter than that, but almost like red wine.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah, it's almost like a dark mahogany, maybe even borderline maroon color.
Yeah.
And the head, what do you think about that? I just poured it, so it's got a pretty big head, and it looks like it's got some lacing to it a little bit.
Yeah, it does have some lacing. It tend to calm down a little bit, but you can see the head is still there.
Almost 3 fingers. It's very rocky, meaning it looks like, you know, you threw a stone, you threw some pebbles in there, and then it created all those little wakes and waves.
Yeah.
And it looks filtered to me, at least. It doesn't. It looks pretty clear.
Yeah.
I can't say it's unfiltered.
Definitely.
So, anything else before we go into a smell? I think that's probably your look of Arrogant Bastard. Now, the smell to me is the smell to me is all it's big malts and big sugary notes.
Yeah, I'm getting the same here.
They say nothing but, well, one thing they do say about what's in here is nothing but the finest barley, most aggressive hops, cleanest water, our proprietary yeast strain, and abundant arrogance.
Yeah, there's one thing I can say. It seems like every Stone, you can almost like they use like a similar yeast in like every beer almost, it seems, and like there's like a If Stone came out with a new beer, I think I'd be able to spot it out of a selection because it's like you always use this like very specific type of yeast. I swear.
I
There's
think I
always-
kind of do get, now that you mention that, I think I kind of do get an overriding sort of a bready sweetness. Maybe that is actually from the yeast. That could be the yeast or the malts that they're using. I'm not sure what kind of malts they're really
Yeah.
keeping under wraps, but I would say like brown bread, candied sugar sweetness, maybe a touch of like tobacco or like cedar or leather or something.
Yeah, I could see that. Tobacco.
So maybe some dark fruits, but I'm gonna, dive in unless anyone's got something else to say. Arrogant bastard. Cheers.
Go for it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So, it's Keone's channel. He's been drinking this beer. What you thinking about flavor profile wise, Keone?
It tastes really sweet. I almost taste like brown sugar. I don't know. I do taste the barley. You really get slapped with the flavor of hops at the end of it. Like the tail end, once you take that swallow on your tongue, you just get that bitterness of that hops.
Yeah, it's definitely a very strong hop finish, very very bitter, and but I love that. And it's interesting because the Double Bastard uses more hops. It has a higher IBU, but it's balanced differently with the malts, more like barley wine almost. And this, the hops definitely overpower the malt a little bit, and I like that. Right.
I was almost gonna say that because you just mentioned barley wine, and sort of while I was taking a couple of these sips here, I'm sort of being reminded of a barley wine, where a barley wine has a lot of that candy sugared sweetness, those like almost like alcohol soaked kind of raisiny flavors or cherries. Some of them have a lot. The American styles tend to have a lot of bitterness to them, and I think you get that to a certain extent. I don't think that this quite.
No, I'm saying the double.
In terms of its alcohol percentage.
Oh, definitely not. But I'm saying the Double Bastard really is closer to a barley wine, and because it's got more malt.
Mm-hmm.
I look at this beer as really like a sweet and bitter beer. Because when you're first going for your drink, you get hit with the sweet flavor of that barley and kind of like that brown sugar I was talking about. And once you take that swallow, you just get hit with that hops.
Yeah, it's almost to me like when this beer finishes, I would say that this is a very wet finish. In saying that, I mean it's not a very long finish, but it still has a pretty pronounced finish where you can taste the hops and the bitterness trying to finish off, and it's got a little bit of a sourness. And now that I'm making that sort of a sound, it's almost like a big red wine, where it is, in a sense, kind of chewy. It's a very thick, slick, oily type of a mouthfeel, and it has a very chewy consistency to it, if that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah. The other thing I kind of noticed is after taking about 30 seconds after taking a sip, and just let that flavor sit on my tongue, even though I don't have anything in my mouth, I kind of get like a roasted taste. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know what Eric Anderson thinks about that, but I'm not really sure because you can't find information. I mean, there's probably somewhere you can peruse and poke enough around the interwebs to probably find more information about exactly what goes into this, but I got to assume there's some kind of a smoked malt going on this beer, because it does have that smoky, roasted sort of a flavor as well.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, because I have friends that are craft brewers, and I made bacon jam, and then after I made bacon jam, I realized I could make bacon caramel. So I made bacon caramel, and I realized that I could give that to a craft brewer, and that they could make bacon beer essentially out of my bacon caramel that I've created. So I'm giving them like a pound. But so my point is, you don't know what they're putting in. Like, there's so many options, and like it's so difficult to really pinpoint. One thing that has this like smoky kind of caramelly taste. But it could be a smoked caramel. It could be.
Yeah. You know what? You bring that up. you bring that up. I don't know how I missed that. There is a really big, especially in the nose. I'm noticing that there is a really big, like a syrupy caramel or like a toffee syrupy kind of a sweetness there too. And when you drink it, I think you do notice that it has a little bit of a slick mouthfeel in there. It's definitely. Now, I think it may depend on what kind of, what kind of beers you like and how big of a beer you like. But I definitely think that this is straight up a full-bodied mouthfeel kind of a beer.
Yes.
They make no mistakes for how big and bold the beer drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And I would definitely have to say, American Strong Ale can mean so many different things. You can make a beer 8%. You could call Steel Reserve 211 an American Strong Ale because it's made in America and it's strong. But, I digress on that. I just think that this is a really big beer. It's definitely complex with all those different flavors going on, like we said. Like I said, I get like this cherry, like alcohol-soaked cherries, cedar, leather, tobacco, those roasted caramel notes. It's smoked a little bit in the flavor. But I think in general, and if you look at the information on Stone Beers, or even if you go on Beer Advocate, or maybe even like Rate Beer, and you just type in Arrogant Bastard Ale, you come to find out, and Eric Anderson mentioned this, about how he made this jam, and then you could use that to make a beer. Well, what they've done in the past is they've made this beer, the Arrogant Bastard Stone Brewing Company, and they have a lot of different variations of that beer. So they have a barrel-aged version, a bourbon barrel-aged version. Well, these are retired. Double dry hopped, Templeton Rye whiskey barrel hopped, chipotle peppers, coconut, Mexican coffee, and cocoa, brandy barrel aged.
I want you to all witness what I'm about to do right now, because I've drank this beer a lot. I know what this beer tastes like. I'm going to mix things up. I've never done this before. This is Jim Beam Black, and I'm going to drop a shot into this fucker, because the bourbon barrel-aged bastard is pretty much the best thing I've ever had in my life. I think that might be just for pure pleasure and enjoyment. The bourbon barrel-aged bastard is the best beer I've ever had. Like, oh my god, I just enjoyed drinking that. So I'm just going to throw a shot of some double-aged fucking Jim Beam bourbon into this beer and report my my findings.
You're just asking to get blasted.
Completely fucking wasted? Dude. I just thought I'd mix it up a bit.
But as you guys were saying about how people are sending in recipes like food to make it into craft beers, I could see using this to cook some food, like some barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
Like some marination, like marinate some chicken, barbecue chicken.
Yeah,
Actually,
like
this would pair good with some barbecue food.
Yeah, like a flank steak or something that's a really, you pound the crap out of the meat and it's really thin and it might be really, really a chewy piece of meat, but you can put this in a bag with the meat and let it sit 24 hours and that thing is going to be so nice and tender by tomorrow.
That's what I'm thinking.
But, Eric Anderson needs to report about a flavor concoction he's brewed up in his mind here.
Well, my first thought, I smelled it, and I thought to myself, oh my god, it just smells like bourbon. What have I done? And I let it sit for a minute. I didn't really stir it, but I just let it sit for a moment to really diffuse, and then took a sip. And it is incredible. It is just really something I would recommend actually doing. It's fantastic. This is better than normal Jim Beam. This is aged for twice as long. This is some good shit.
Oh, so it's not a flavored Jim Beam.
Say it again?
It's not flavored. It's not like cinnamon or cherry flavored.
No, it's like normal Jim Beam bourbon, which is actually like my favorite bourbon. I love Jim Beam bourbon. It's just Jim Beam bourbon aged for twice as long. So it's a stronger flavor, but it ends up being a little bit smoother, and it's really good. So mixed with this beer is because it's like for a 6-pack, even here for a 6-pack of the Bourbon Barrel Aged Bastard is like $16.99 plus tax. So you're like $20 for a 6-pack almost. This is cheaper.
Well, if you're gonna do it that way, I suppose.
No, but honestly, the Bourbon Barrel Aged Bastard is better than this.
Yeah,
but
they even make one. They say they have a retired version of this, which was Arrogant Bastard Ale with Spanish cedar, scorpion peppers, and Chinook hops. And there was also one with Mexican coffee and cinnamon. So, I guess I mean,
I've never heard of those.
I mean, you wouldn't think it that way that a beer with this much going on, and basically to me, it's pretty much going like this: slap, slap, slap. Recognize me, I am a bastard. They got the name of this beer correct, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that it seems like it's got such a big, gigantic character that you wouldn't necessarily think about doing anything else with it, and you wouldn't think that it would work that way in doing other things. But apparently, they see results.
Beer.
I'm really curious. I want to try it with some bourbon, but I just finished up the last of my bourbon a few days ago. I would have tried it myself because I'm really curious what that tastes like.
Have you ever had the Lucky Bastard?
No. What the heck is Lucky Bastard?
Lucky Bastard is a combination of normal bastard, double bastard, and the oaked Arrogant Bastard. It's those three beers combined, and they call it the Lucky Bastard. And, yeah.
I found a brewery in Czech Republic called Lucky Bastard. So there you go. There's a little trivia for you right there. Lucky Bastard is in the Czech Republic. No relation to Stone.
I really would highly recommend doing this because I think, seriously, the Arrogant Bastard, the smokiness of it just lends itself so well to smoky bourbon that they just complement each other so incredibly well. I definitely recommend this combination. If you really want to get smashed, this is the way to do it.
Does it calm down the hops at all, or?
Does it calm down the bitterness in the hops?
Oh, you know what? It does in a way, really. Because there's all this extra flavor that just fills it all out in a way. The flavor from the bourbon you don't really get from this. Like I'm not getting like the alcohol taste, or you know what I mean? Because it's good. It's a good bourbon. So
I noticed that breweries will do barrel aged version of their beers. Like I have a beer that I want to try that I just bought recently. The Bigfoot barley wine from Sierra Nevada, barrel aged version, and that's apparently supposed to be considered one of the hoppiest barley wines that you can possibly buy in the market. Now, they'll even tell you that on the back of the bottle and on their website.
Bigfoot.
That the barley, that the barrel aged version diminishes a lot of the hoppy notes that were standard in the unbarrel aged version. So I think you're onto something, Keone, when you ask that question, because I think that's exactly what happens. I mean, at the moment, I'm thinking that this is a pretty, the one thing that's sticking out to me about this Arrogant Bastard, and maybe it would be better really, really colder than I'm having it right now, but I think the one thing that's overriding anything is the big, big sweet notes in this beer. I think it's a very sweet beer in a different way than I think. Barley wines are sweet, but I think it's a very sweet beer.
It's interesting. I never really thought about it that way, but I mean, once you started saying that, I kind of did notice. I mean, I always noticed that caramel, but I never thought of it. I mean, it's not like I don't find it cloyingly sweet, like in the way like Old English.
Right. I'm sure people that are used to drinking Old English or used to drinking, say, Budweiser lager would go into Arrogant Bastard. Just they would put on a whiskey face and they'd be going, "This is just too sweet and too boozy and bitter." Maybe that's a really good assessment for somebody that doesn't know that they don't like these bigger beers. That some of these beers have this quality, and that's maybe. To me, that might be a really positive but negative assessment. It definitely has a big, sugary, almost like a dark roasted, almost like a dark cherry with the alcohol soaked in it, kind of a sweetness. You do get the alcohol. You do get a pretty good bitterness. Although I can't really distinguish from with all the things going on in here, what kind of a hop they use and what kind of a bittering flavor that I'm getting from it. It's just got such a large flavor already going on.
I kind of noticed with Stone's line of beers, their hops are almost the same in every beer. Like I had the Levitation and the Pale Ale, and the hop finish I noticed is the same. But I actually really do lean more towards the Arrogant Bastard when it comes to my beer choice, when it comes to Stone beers anyways, because you get that sweet flavor with it. It's not completely bitter like the Pale Ale was.
Right. So if you had to give this beer a grade or lettering or however you want to score the beer, how would you do that and why?
I think if I had to score it, I'd give it about an A- or A, because it's not quite an A+, because it's very rich with flavor, got a lot of stuff going on for it. I just think it's kind of off-putting, especially for people who are not used to craft beers. The hops, it just slaps you in the face.
Yeah.
Once you swallow that, it can be strong for some people.
And what are I guess my question would be, pre putting that Jim Beam in your beer, what would you rate? What would your assessment be of this beer in a score, and why? Eric Anderson.
Oh, wait, say the question again.
Before you put the shot of that Jim Beam that's clouding your mind right now.
Yes.
How would you rate this beer, and what kind of a score would you give it, and why?
Well, it's very difficult for me because also this beer was one of the first. I mean, this is kind of what got me into craft beer largely, and it's so I almost feel like I have to excuse myself for the question because I'm just obligated to give it like an A. The other thing I find about this beer is that it's such an excellent base beer, and that's why Stone has been able to do so much with it. There's so many different kinds of bastards now, and they're all amazing. And I mean, I just dropped a fucking shot of bourbon into it, and it is incredible. It's an incredible beer. I think it's just very, to me, for someone that likes hops, it is just so drinkable and amazing and just incredible. It's like that. It's just a little rough around the edges, and that's fucking awesome. In a way, the Double Bastard has more hops but feels less bitter, and this less hops but it has that bitter finish. It has a strength to it. It's just fantastic. It's a really good beer. It's just it's one of my favorites. I mean, it's a beer that I'll always come back to.
And what would you give it for a score? However you want to score this beer, how would you score it?
I mean, I can't truly give it an A+ because I've had beers that just are on another level, like Labyrinth, for example. If you ever have a chance to drink a Labyrinth, just fucking do it. Whatever they ask, just pay that. Have you ever had a beer called Labyrinth?
I've never even heard of a beer called Labyrinth.
No.
Oh my lord. That one is also aged in a bourbon cask. I'm partial bourbon, so take it with a grain of salt, but Labyrinth is one of my top beers I've ever had in my life.
Labyrinth?
If you ever consider Labyrinth, yes, snatch it up. It is like I say, it's aged in a. I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
Oh, you're talking about is it called Labyrinth Barrel Aged Quadruple Black Ale?
Yeah.
Oh. That is a quadruple style beer, everybody, from the Unita Brewing Company in.
That's probably possibly the best beer I've ever had in my life, in my opinion.
But yeah, I agree with you, Eric Anderson. This is a really good beer for any hop head. I was just giving it an A- because I was taking everybody's type of beer into consideration. But if I was going to do it myself, it would probably be an A+ because I just like getting hit with that hops. And I know every other hop head would totally adore this beer. This is almost like a hop head's dream, you could say. you just get hit with that bitter taste. And it just goes so good with that sweet taste. You get hit with sweet and then bitter. It just goes so good together.
Yeah, well, you know what they say here on the very, very bottom, before I give you my assessment, right on the very, very bottom here, below this Star Wars scrolling text here.
If you don't like beer, keep it to yourself. Yep. Is that what you're talking about? We don't want...
Comments or questions? If you don't like this beer, keep it to yourself. We don't want to hear from any sniveling yellow beer drinking wimps, because this beer wasn't made for you. They are really... Stone is really a bastard. You're right. But, my assessment's going to be, and I've been talking about these three things all along in this beer review, which is, there's the big sweetness, there's the big bitterness, and then there's that big, dark cherry soaked alcohol kind of a flavor. Those are the three main things I get with those interesting roasted tobacco, leather, kind of malty notes. And I'm thinking not along the lines that Stone doesn't want to hear from me about it. But I'm thinking everything, and maybe this isn't the beer for me, but I think I would like an Arrogant Bastard beer that was maybe, if it makes any sense, not quite so arrogant. Just
you probably
take everything
prefer
down
the
a couple of notches where it's not so sweet and it's not so bitter, and it doesn't do those things. And it might be an interesting beer, although
have you ever had the double?
It might even be better.
Have you ever had the double?
I have had the double. That was the first one I tried, was the double.
Well, no, tell me. I would like to hear your opinion on the double.
I had that 2 years ago, and I drank that thing, and it was like the first time ever anybody gave me a shot of Jägermeister. No, thank you.
Jaeger is horrible. Jaeger
tastes like NyQuil to me.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Yeah, that's a good example. NyQuil.
You know what? I love absinthe, but I hate Jaeger.
Yeah, I can't do that herbal stuff. Forget that. But anyways, I didn't rate this beer or score it. I would give this. I got to be fair to the beer because it is actually really good beer. It just may not be my beer, my kind of thing. I would definitely give that. I do 3 of them. I do the letter grade, the out of 5, and then out of 100. So on my channel, that's how I do it.
All right.
It's got to be it's got to be B-, I guess. C+ to B-, which would be around, I guess, an 82 out of 100, which might be a 3.5 out of 5. So 82 range B-. That's I think where I'm at on that. And
see, I give it
generous.
Yeah, I really agree with your review. I think I was a little too generous because I know a lot of beer people would probably get turned off by this because it's like you're in a car crash with whiplash. It's like you're gonna slam with all the sweetness and you're gonna knock back with all that bitterness. It can turn off for a lot of people, but it's still a really good
the reason I don't care about what other people think is okay, imagine a movie critic, okay? They have to grade a movie how they like it. They can't grade it for if the kids like a kids movie. They grade it how they like the kids movie. That's the way you have to do it. And it's to me, this beer is just the fucking best beer. In a way, I even like it more than Double Bastard because of that hop finish, because it just feels so raw. And trust me, I have marinated quite a bit of meat. I've even made bread out of this beer. I love this beer. It's fucking amazing. But I also admit that I'm biased. I just totally admit that I'm completely biased towards this beer.
So that actually gives me an idea of how to explain another way to explain this. So if you've had, there's not another beer on the market maybe that's a cool thing about this beer. There's not another beer in the market I can think of besides maybe a barley wine, American style maybe. But even still, there's not one beer in the market I can think of or even can reference that I've heard of that even remotely sounds like this in flavor, or I've had a beer that is like this in flavor. I can't even think of something like that.
There's a uniqueness to an Arrogant Bastard that is kind of unheralded. I think out of any beer, I would be able to pick this beer out of any lineup, no matter what it is. I know this beer that well, and
So
it's
if
so unique in its sense, in its own.
if
Oh, seems to taste.
I'm trying to think about a beer here. If I'm trying to do a stupid analogy here, but maybe it'll get the point across about what we're really trying to. Some of the things that we're trying to say about the beer here in general is like I'm trying to think of one. Maybe if you've ever had, let's do Stone since it's a Stone beer. So I don't know if anybody's had Ruination IPA out there that may be watching this video, but if Ruination beer is like driving a Lamborghini, then drinking Arrogant Bastard Ale is like flying in an F-16 at Mach 5. It really is that night and day, the difference between the feelings and the sensations, and even at this point right now, after not having a sip for a little while, it starts to really dry out the mouth. It really starts. It's not desert like dry, but it really starts to sort of do that. Which may make you want to take another sip.
I think it is, in a sense, less balanced than a Ruination, which has just obscene amounts of hops.
Lamborghini, yep.
They came to our bar and they did a tap takeover, and there was like 3 different kinds of Ruination. And I'd like to say, I'm not really sure, but there was like a double Ruination or something. And the double Ruination was actually even better balanced than a Ruination. Like, the IBUs probably were getting close to 200, but it was just like so well balanced. That beer was.
They have one called the Ruination IPA 2.0. It could have been that.
Maybe, but that doesn't sound familiar, so it probably wasn't.
Now, before Keone figures out whenever he wants to wrap this up, or we can just keep doing this live video for as long as we want, Ruination is just another beer. I'm not even going to go into that. Ruination is another beer that has so many different variations. They even do one with roasted coffee beans. It sounds gross, but whatever.
Hey, did you ever had their smoked vanilla porter? Their smoked porter, vanilla. I kind of thought the vanilla was too much. It was like too much vanilla. What did you think about that beer?
I haven't had that thing in a while, but we were going to invite now. Say what you want about this. We were going to invite one of our other buddies, and Keone did. Well, he invited everybody that we normally are with on the Louisiana Beer Review Wednesdays. Keone invited a bunch of those other guys, and one of them that really does like the craft beer and all that stuff a lot, and he just doesn't give a crap if somebody gives him a Miller Lite, he'll drink it. But he even said, that stuff is just a little bit too out there. That stone beer is just a little bit too out there for me, and maybe rightfully so in that statement. I mean, they are really out there in what they do and what they try to accomplish in taste buds, and they don't do the same thing everybody else does, and I think that's the point.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the point.
As a whole, I'd have to still say Stone is my favorite brewery. Completely as a brewery, no one tops Stone, in my very humble opinion. I think rivals to the throne would be Lagunitas. They're amazing. Or Avery. Avery is incredible. Have you ever had any Avery beers?
Oh, yeah.
Those are incredible. And
Firestone?
Firestone Walker, yeah.
Yes, you know what? I fucking love Firestone. Pack of pale ale right now. I mean, yes, Firestone is the shit. And they're like super local. They're like, I mean, I think the brewery is like within like 50 miles or something. Like, I mean, it's around here.
Pretty awesome. That's
but
1,000 miles, 1,000 plus from me.
Yeah.
But New England's not a bad place for beer. I can't deny that.
Hey, have you had Smutty Nose beer? Any Smutty Nose? Yes. I had their finest kind IPA. I thought was really good.
The last one I remember having from Smutty Nose, which is in New Hampshire, was their triple, and that was pretty good because walking around. Normally, what happens is I'll walk around my beer store trying to find something to buy. And well, I should put it this way. I have an agenda of what I want to buy, and when I don't find anything, I just got to improvise. And all of a sudden, I stumbled across a Smutty Nose Triple, which is a Belgian, obviously, style ale, golden style of an ale, and I just said, I don't think I've ever heard of that before. And those are the cool things where you can go and find a beer either you've never heard of before or you didn't even think that a company made. And those are the really nice surprises out there. And that was sometimes little small microbreweries can be like that. I mean, yeah, you can have all the arrogant bastards you want, you can have all the Bud Lights you want, but for a beer you maybe never heard before, that just seems to me a greater experience. But not that this one was not an experience. This one really fucking slapped you around a little bit.
Before we wrap this up, I wanted to hear you guys' comments on what would you pair with this? What kind of food would you pair this with? And also, what type of drinker would you recommend this to?
What kind of a food would you pair this with? I'll let Eric
Fried
answer
chicken.
that.
Fried chicken. Arrogant bastard and fried chicken. I'm telling you. Like some spicy fried chicken, like some good cayenne pepper in there, like some good black pepper, paprika, just like some spicy, dank, perfectly fried chicken.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of the opposite on that. I think it may need. I don't even know if you really could pair food with this properly because of how big and bold this beer is. But for as big and bold as the beer is, even barley wines can be paired with something. Although you probably want to just drink a barley wine, but maybe this would go good with some kind of a dessert like a creme brulee or a cannoli or some kind of confectionery treat or something.
With me, I believe this would go good with anything barbecued, like well done. You know, like when you got all that black stuff all over your meat.
Now
really
you know.
crispy. I think that would go good with this.
Now you know they actually say that. They said that somewhere, and I'm totally stifled by what the hell I was gonna say, but there was somewhere that they told you that what this beer would be really, really good with. Now I think they say it on Beer Advocate in general that, let me look it up here, that on Beer Advocate itself, they say for the style of beer that it is.
I hear two things. Fatty food and peanut butter. There's a lot, I hear a lot about peanut butter cups. I hear a lot about fat, like lamb and shit like that, like fatty food.
Really?
Yeah. And
now
that's I mean, my personal choice is the fatty foods. You know, like any solid fatty food.
Yeah, Beer Advocate. Again, Beer Advocate is calling this beer a American Strong Ale, which they say can even be as high as 25% alcohol by volume, and characteristics can vary greatly. Some have similarities to barley wines and old ales, barrel aging. Certainly not out of the question, but all they say on Beer Advocate for this style of beer to pair it with for food is nutty Asiago Kobe, Parmesan cheeses, and general digestives. That's all they say for this style. They think that it may be too big of a beer to really try different things with, but again, I think the point here is, before we wrap it up, is if you like the beer enough, you can drink this beer with any kind of food. If you really, really love this beer, nobody is telling you you cannot pair this beer with any other beer on the market. I mean, with any other food that you can think of out there.
Yeah.
So, I give it a B-. It's above average for sure.
What kind of drinker would you recommend this to? Definitely not like the women drinkers, right? They always like something really smooth and sweet.
I don't know. I think you could. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to really say an experienced drinker, because everybody has different steps and stages in their development, and their taste buds always change. But somebody maybe that likes whiskey might like this. Somebody that likes sweeter drinks might like this. Somebody that likes a little bit of a warming presence to their beer might like this. Somebody that just likes barley wines or wants to try something new, try it.
With me, I don't want to sound stereotypical or anything, but I feel like this is perfect for craft beer drinkers and hopheads, people who are just trying to get that hop flavor in their beer.
Mr. Anderson, what do you think?
I think this beer is fucking one of my favorite beers of all time. I think this beer is basically what you said. And you
What
won.
kind of drink would you dress this to, though?
Who would you recommend this to?
Would I recommend it to?
Yeah.
Everyone, try it just once.
Oh my goodness.
Try the shit once. It's like, I mean, even if you don't like it, it'll be an experience to drink it. It's good for your soul to have tried American Bastard at least one time, even if you hate it, even if it's too intense, so bitter, you're like, why would anyone drink this ever? At least you tried the motherfucker. You say, that shit was too intense for me, but I did, I drank it. That shit is fucking gnarly. It's like, everyone should try this beer.
So, there is episode 1 of Eric, and Keone.
Yep, that's how it is. But I would like to do this thing again. If you guys can think of a different beer to do, that would be awesome, especially if it's a beer I can get. And I don't know about you, Eric Anderson, if you have a YouTube channel or not. I know the other Eric does. So his channel is Massachusetts Beer Reviews.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the description to his channel below, so you guys can check that out. He has a lot of awesome reviews. And he even has his beer cellar. He has all those kind of beers he'd be collecting.
I already added a beer to the cellar this afternoon.
But yeah, any last words you guys want to say before we try to wrap this up here?
I say, if anyone's inclined to drop some Jim Beam Black into an Arrogant Bastard Ale, I would highly suggest the I think it's an improvement on the original beer, which I think is one of the best beers I've ever had.
I will say see you guys soon, hopefully.
Yep. Until next time, YouTube, thanks for watching.